And I'm like,
Oh my
it's smoke
gosh, I feel
outside.
like
Stop hooping outdoors, Kool-Aid. I can't help it, bro.
I feel like within a couple hours of being out there, I'm just gonna be like, "Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Woodwood Pistons. Oh my gosh." It reminds me of
Oh,
like
goodness
of a month
gracious.
ago. Like, do you remember a month? Like, I think I showed you this photo, but do you remember a month ago when the skies were literally orange
Yeah,
in New York because it looked like it was on fire? Well,
everything was just coming under, brother.
dude, it was like the funniest part of it was right in the middle of it all, they had a billboard that was not intended to time up with that storm where it said, it was for Diablo 4. It said, "Welcome to hell, New York," with the sky
Goodness.
literally being orange and burning right behind it, literally looking like they're in hell.
It's like, bro, you can't even make that up, bro.
No,
You
you
can't. You
can't.
can't.
You can't
Hey,
write that.
you see what I'm rocking tonight?
Oh, you got the Cade Crusader, the OG Cade Crusader.
Come on, bro. Come on. K Crusader. Let's rock. Let's rock. Look, I'm saving the mask though for the Kool-Aid and the Murph.
Yep,
Oh no. Bro, we gotta see what happened to Mr. Sean Murphy. I was just about to say what up to all of the regulars, man. We got Mr. Jones. Hey, we got him back. We got him back. We got
dumbass was going to move the screen and I hit the X. I am not a smart
I
person.
knew you were gonna be in here quick with the quickness, though. I knew it. I knew it.
We
We
better,
are
yeah,
live.
we are
Let's rock,
live and
bro.
we are in the stream now.
Let's
Better do
rock.
the
Look,
intro
bro.
before I kick myself out again.
Bro, look, I was saying what's up to some of these some of the regulars, man. We got Mr. Jones, we got Money Train, James, we got Scant, John. But hey, Mr. Jones said that oxygen in a can looking worth it at this point. Like the oxygen, water, and all of that. Just give me all of it, bro.
Oh my gosh, like that was literally, yeah, it's like jokes from Spaceballs might have to be our reality within the next couple of months. My gosh, this is insane.
Sean's mind is incredible, bro.
Well, you remember in Spaceballs, they just crack open the can of air and
Yeah.
brand new air. He's just
Goodness, bro, because it's crazy out there, yo.
it is,
It
man,
really is, man.
100%.
Shout out to Chuck. What up,
And
bro?
Chuck, quit yelling at me, man. It's Thursday, I'm just trying to log. Anyway, what's going on, people? Welcome to Wover Pistons Table Talk. Today, we got a little bit of a a more intimate vibe, but also kind of more of a OG vibe. It's just me and Kool-Aid, the two stablemen of the table talk. And man, this although we miss our crew, shout out Jalen, shout out, Steve and all our
Steve,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, Kool-Aid, this works too. This is still fun.
It does, because we got some things to talk about, brother. We
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
talk about. Look,
Oh yeah.
I always, look, I try to talk to Terry. There's certain people I try to talk basketball with on a weekly basis. There's Terry Foster, the legend. There's Rod Beard, the other legend. There's Jeff Freddie, the young legend. And there's Sean Murphy, the other young legend.
I
And that's
was
right
gonna
here
say,
on
I
the
was like, you
tabletop.
you took the young legend for Jeff. I was like, what nickname's left for
No,
me?
come on now, bro. Listen, man. Listen. The first platform. There was two platforms that started and continue to kind of, carry the ship with Woodward Pistons. There's a Woodward Pistons podcast that I host with Rod Beard, and the content that I also host with Jeff Freddie, as well as the content we do together. And
Yes,
then there's the
sir.
table talk. Now that's the
Yes.
content that I do, and I've hosted with you since before it was on Woodward Pistons. I mean, even way back when, bro, when it was called
Before
the
it was even
313
called,
report.
yeah. For those that, yeah, it was back when it was called the 313 report. Man, that's a throwback.
It's been a
Man,
long time, and we're gonna have to bring back. I mean, last summer I thought we had some really good features. We're gonna have to bring some of those back this summer. Talk
oh
about some
yeah,
of those favorite Pistons moments. We're gonna have to get the Charlottean back on here, man. Keith Black, get him in here to talk about some of those Pistons moments as well. We had some fun last summer. But
yeah.
it feels good, bro. It feels good to be here to talk Pistons basketball. I wanted to be able to talk this with you because Troy Weaver shared some comments that I was able to go
Happy
through with
Troy Weaver season, by the way.
happy Troy Weaver season, brother. Happy Troy Weaver season. Thank you.
It's like a 2-3 week holiday. It starts in the draft. It's kind of like Hanukkah or like, like one of those like what like the cultural like holiday with like a calendar. It's like you open it up and it's like today Troy Weaver's fleecing another team in a potential trade conversation. And it's
bro.
like in all seriousness, he's gonna like it's every GM in the league is on the phones right now. But I honestly think, especially with some news that broke a couple hours ago, I think Troy Weaver could be getting active here in the next few days.
I was gonna ask you, how much have you heard the Pistons at all? You hear like noise, other teams and all this. We ain't heard nothing. So that means something's gonna happen crazy that we're not even expecting. That's how Troy Weaver has always operated, bro.
I'm not gonna lie. My inner Brian Windhorst was going off when over the weekend RJ Hampton was randomly waived from the team, opening another roster spot, potentially being because it's like, what's going on here? Why would they make that move in the middle of the weekend right before free agency? Almost like freeing up another roster spot to maybe make a trade. And then, you see some of the things that are going down throughout the league. The Philadelphia 76ers are currently having to look to trade James Harden. I wonder which team could possibly absorb some salary cap space and help potentially facilitate such a trade. Like, I think that's where, in all seriousness, I think that's where Troy Weaver's head's at. Personally, I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think? Obviously, we would love to see guys like Jeremy Grant. We would love to see guys like Cam Johnson, but I think some of the real targets we don't even know about yet. Kool-Aid.
Well, yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk about today with the Troy Weaver season upgrade or keeping expectations, to be able to go over kind of some of these comments that Troy Weaver made post the Asar Thompson, Marcus Sasser press conference that kind of give us some hints and clues into just exactly what he might be thinking. Now, chiefly, we know that the CBA is something that he said several times. There are going to be people positioned to take advantage of that. That means that we're not going to see big deals right now. We're not going to see the Pistons right now going out there and those players that want the big money. We're not going to see it right now. Just like they waited with the coaching search until they got what they wanted. The Troy Weaver just continued to state, we're not moving at anybody's pace except for our own. And I appreciate that.
I also think our expectations of what types of moves Troy can make over the next few seasons, I think needs to shift because I think, like we talked about how like maybe like the Donovan Mitchell type trade, like when is that coming? With the new collective bargaining agreement, Kool-Aid, that might never come. Like if you look at it, like Cleveland right now is one of those teams who's going to have to scramble and figure out how in the heck they're going to get, they're going to have the room and stay under the second apron. And like for all intents and purposes, like with what they're paying Donovan Mitchell, with what they're paying Jared Allen, with what they're going to have to pay, Darius Garland, like, and what they're going to have to pay Evan Mobley, they're locked. So, I think like when you look at the types of trades like Detroit are going to be able to make, like I think a lot of teams right now like, like are scrambling because not only do they just have to have room if they want to potentially make any moves, but like they just have contracts that they signed that just no longer make sense for their team in the context of the new CBA. That's why guys like Jordan Poole got traded for picks. Like Jordan Poole and picks was traded for Chris Paul. That's why John Collins was traded for Rudy Gay in a second round pick. So I think Troy Weaver could pull off a move, and we're dumbfounded that he's only sending like Marvin Bagley in a second in return or something to that caliber,
Yeah. One of the things that kind of struck me was when they drafted Asar Thompson, when he stated after the press conference, he doesn't necessarily want to sign somebody that will block their development or the development of the young guys, which instantly made me think maybe a player like Jeremy Grant, even though he and Asar can play together, maybe a player like Jeremy Grant is off the books. And it even made me think to a degree, what are they really thinking about splashing this money at Cam Johnson, especially with, like you're mentioning here, if these players like Cade, Ivy, and Duran are the guys, they're going to have to pay these guys.
Mhm.
With the way things are going right now, you're going to have to make sure that you know how to properly build around these guys. And I think that's why his other statement, he continues to say he wants to see what Monty Williams can do with these players. That's why that's so important. So I'm not going to be shocked if the Pistons find themselves involved, as you were alluding to, involved in some of these CBA type deals, these deals where they have to be a third team involved to help kind of facilitate it. And we've seen the Pistons involved in this in the past as well,
Mhm.
or to help a team that just wants to be able to offload some players. And I think that there's some interesting stuff. And I think that the thing that we don't ever really consider when we're talking about free agency are the disgruntled players under contract that Troy Weaver seems to find a way to come away with sometimes.
Can I pitch a potential player for you, Kool-Aid? I
Yeah.
was thinking about this earlier today, and it's like, man, I really like Cam Johnson. You and I feel the exact same way on what that potential contract about like what he could look like on this team, right?
Yeah.
But what if instead we've talked about this problem that Brooklyn has with the redundancy of wings. It's pretty clear it's pretty clear they want to hang on to Cam Johnson if they can.
Mhm.
What if Detroit tries to put together something and go after a Dorian Finney-Smith and maybe even another guy like Royce O'Neal? So Dorian Finney-Smith, for context, he's currently signed through 2025, 2026. He's currently on I think he's on a way more friendly deal. He's currently at about 13 million a year right now. He's got, it goes up to 15 million as it ends. If you look at the points per game, like he really doesn't require the ball much. He's a career 8 point a game guy. Like he shoots about 35, 30, career 34, 35% from free. But most importantly, he's like a guy that star players love playing against. And he's a guy that, that for years in Dallas, that would be, hey, put our number one guy, like their number one guy, Dorian's guarding him. He's 30 years old, so he's a solid veteran, not too old. And if you could bring in him and then potentially Royce O'Neal, who's an expiring contract after this year, probably don't have to give up as much as to go get Cam Johnson. I think maybe I think those are the types of moves that I think maybe Troy Weaver could be looking at. What are your thoughts?
I see him. Part of me feels like he might be looking at both, bro. Part of me feels like he might be looking to go out there and snag a Cam Johnson, as well as a couple more of these veterans. And that team is a pretty good team if you're Cade, Ivy, and Duran really pan out the way that we think that they can. So it's
Yeah.
like those types of players. Yeah, I've been looking at different players as well, like PJ Washington.
Yep.
He's one I don't know about his defense. So I feel like your options will work tremendously better because we know defensively those guys can get after it. But I like PJ Washington as offensive player. I thought he was kind of up and down based on the lineups that they were putting around him. But I want to kind of see if he has like a defined role. He's still yet 24 years old, a defined role. Go out there and do X, Y, and Z. I don't know, man. Sometimes I would love the Pistons to kind of take a flyer on a guy like that.
You
Not a young guy who's a project, but a young guy who actually is worth maybe like the 3 and 45 million. You know what I mean?
You know what I found really interesting about PJ Washington? This is from Kevin O'Connor, which, by the way, shout out KOC, one of my favorite people in the space. What do these four players have in common? Nikola Jokic, Lauri Markkanen, Julius Randle, and PJ Washington. They're the only players in the NBA to run over 100 pick and rolls as a ball handler and over 900 as a screener. So you look at PJ
PJ
Washington,
Washington.
like he's a
That would fit
really
Monty's
versatile player.
system, bro.
Yeah, like he's pretty, pretty instrumental to what they have in Charlotte. But to your point, if that's someone that they could possibly snag away for a few years, I also wonder, we look at potential like restricted free agents. I know, I know a guy that was brought up, like I know we bring up a lot. Cam Johnson. I know Austin Reeves is a restricted free. Who's in a similar situation to Austin Reeves this summer in free agency right now?
Who?
A guy that you and I both love, Herb Jones.
Hmm.
What if Detroit could potentially sign Herb Jones to some form of poison pill offer sheet that puts the Pelicans in a really difficult situation? Like that's a player where you could where you could bet on his upside as a jump shooter. You look at his defensive versatility and his stout ability on that end right now. I think what potentially could you maybe even get in a sign and trade for Herb Jones?
Bro, there's a lot of players like that. From Herb Jones to PJ Washington. These are what our unrestricted, our restricted free agents. Man, there's some there's some
Isn't it crazy how many good restricted free and that's the thing. I know like people look at restricted free agents and immediately they go, "Oh, well, they're restricted. They're just going to be signed back." That's not always the case.
that's not how it goes.
And especially with the new collective bargaining agreement, a lot of these teams might be desperate and want to make sure they don't walk away with nothing. So that's why, like, when you look at restricted free agents, the sign and trade is very much a viable option.
Yeah. I think this statement here is interesting from John Buck. We have too many guys fighting for not enough minutes. There has to be a package going out. I think that's even interesting too. We have like a lot of guys fighting for minutes, but talent wise, and that's why I have this upgrade or keep. If Troy brought in a couple other pieces, if there was more talent on this roster, I don't actually think we would have guys, fighting for not enough minutes. I think that the roles and the lineups would be a little bit more and clearly defined. And those rotations would be something that we would be like, okay, that looks balanced. Right now, we have guys that they're just plugging away at. Like they've moved Sadiq all over the lineup. They use G League players.
Yeah, they're just figuring out who these guys like. These are players who are figuring out who they are, and like as you bring in like veterans and like especially like guys like like I bring up like a Dorian Finney-Smith. He's a defined player. Like he knows who he is, and like that's the importance of bringing in like those types of guys. Like to your point, and yes, there are a lot of players that are fighting for not enough minutes, but my response to that would be that's every good locker room in the NBA. Like that's those are the things you want to have. We didn't have that back in the day. I don't even think we had that with Stan Van Gundy. I mean, like the fact that you have like multiple young players that are fighting for like those minutes. I mean, it is a good problem to have.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with the other half of this in the nuance. They are going to have to do something. If they're going to upgrade this team at all, if it's not just from internal growth, like if they do a mix of relying on internal growth and actually, the acquisition market, the free agency market and such, there are going to have to be packages that go out there. That's why I believe we hear the rumors. We even see people like, shout out James Edwards, even pondering trades of Bojan Bogdanovic going out to different teams because it's the business of it all. Though we like these guys, we sat here and we said it with our guy, Jeremy Grant. Listen, the assets that Troy brings to the squad are ones that he knows will do work for the Pistons, whether on the roster or if he's utilizing them in a trade. And if it so happens to be somebody like I saw Bagley kind of working out in those videos, what I'm saying? He's looking a little bit more nimble. Hopefully he can stay healthy, whether it's Bojan Bogdanovic or whatnot.
After all the Andre Drummond summer gym videos I've seen, I don't take any of those to heart anymore. Like it's like cool. I'm glad to see he's in the gym. That's my only takeaway. But like after all the Ben Simmons and Steph Curry videos I saw, oh, he's coming to take over the league with this new jump shot. Oh, and oh, Andre Drummond can do the same. Like I got fooled too many times for those gym videos. You know what I'm saying? I will say though, he looks like he's in good shape.
Hopefully, when they go into trade talks, obviously these things they come a dime a dozen. I'm sure the league understands what we understand, but at least I'm hoping it shows that the guy's in shape.
I might be jumping the gun because this could be part of that segment that you're talking about. Part of me. Like I know Marvin Bagley's a guy that very much could be moved. Part of me hopes he doesn't get moved just for one half of the season.
Save it. We'll get there.
I'm jumping the gun. I know. I knew it.
No. It's a good thing too, and it's a good thing. The only reason why is because I want to be able to get to just a couple different quotes if people didn't hear it. Troy after Guitar Thompson, Marcus Sasser press conference said that Cade should be going soon as it relates to actually like playing ball. He said he's done a tremendous job, but in the next couple of weeks, he should be ramping up as it relates to his rehab and getting back into the court. And he did say that Cade Cunningham will be ready for training camp, which is the exact reason why they shut him down when they shut him down. And we talked about it for the better part of the last season, man. When we get to the Troy Reaver season, and that's why we titled it this way, the hope, the optimism, the direction, especially after the draft, the lay of things, when you're sitting here realizing the Pistons are one of the few teams with money, the CBA favors them right now a lot, that there was going to be a completely different air of things when we got to this point. We wouldn't be sitting here cracking jokes about Cade's injury, really. The most we could crack about is like AI Cade,
Mhm.
AI generated photos of Cade Cunningham now. It's a completely different time for the Pistons moving forward. And I feel like these comments from Troy Weaver, not just, we've heard them from Ashton the trainer, we've heard them from Cade Cunningham, we've heard them from kind of sources and whatnot. These things from Troy Weaver and just kind of seen him say, oh no, he's going to be ready for training camp. Oh yeah,
I
he's looking good. He's gonna be going soon. It's like you can see in his face. He's like, yeah, we
I
about to get walking.
I can also confirm my sources tell me he should be playing fives by summer league.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I also have heard from sources Kool-Aid. I brought this up briefly on the draft show. There's some interest from Team USA with Cade potentially playing with them in some capacity this summer.
I'm hoping he's at least out there because he's somebody with the type of mind he has and the players that are going to be on that team. Well, Cade has played on these same teams with some of these young players in the past, on some of these other USA teams for the teams and whatnot. He's been there, he's been the leader. He knows what he's doing. He's not just a connector for our Pistons. They identified Cade Cunningham as a connector a long time ago, even before he got to college. So
Mm.
it's like I think it behooves them, bro, straight up, to have him a part of this thing, have him around the guys, maybe have him as a part of like the select team if he doesn't exactly make the official team. And you'll see him when he's healthy, probably be one of those guys that's out there if he doesn't exactly make this team this time around. But
Yeah,
it would be good to see if he's actually running those fives. And if they get his 3-point shot, he says he's getting that arch back on it. It would be fun to see one of our guys, man, out there, not just out there, but really leading the way. Like when we know when he hits the court, it's as a leader, man, because that's
yeah,
the type of player he is. That's
absolutely.
refreshing. That's
Yeah,
refreshing as a Pistons fan.
what's another quote or something that really, like that I really took away from that press conference? I know we're like trying to figure out like what exactly Asar Thompson's role is going to be, how effective he'll be, like day one and like the offensive end. Like Troy Weaver, he said like he thinks Asar can be a guy that can come in and almost right away score 18, 20 points. And I
Mhm.
think, and I think very similarly to Jalen Duren Kool-Aid, I think Asar is going to be one of those guys who's going to score a lot of points without a whole lot of offense being drawn up specifically for him.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And with the type of playmakers that we have on the squad right now, we've increased. We keep talking about the 3-point shooting that we need, but when you have a team full of playmakers that have a feel for the game and they can play in space as well as create their own space, sometimes that takes up for not having as much 3-point shooting. And the Pistons just added a lot of it, even though they're young players, but in Sasser as well as in Thompson. And when you're talking about the IQ of guys like a step forward, another year in the tank for guys like Ivy and Cade Cunningham, Duren is going to feast, bro. Duren is going to absolutely feast. He's the one that I continue to say I believe he's going to make the largest leap forward next year. I believe Cade Cunningham, in terms of consistency, will start to do a lot more that we saw in that kind of 3-game stretch before he went out in Boston. And we'll say, wow. But I think Duren's the guy that will consistently be like, yo, he's putting up 15 and 10 every single night, and he's making it look easy. I really believe that. And it's going to be off of what you're saying, kind of these playmakers around him. This is going to be fun team. A young guy like Asar Thompson and Marcus Sasser coming in, when they know there's already a K and Ivy here, bro, it allows them to be able to play the game so much more loosely and just look for who am I dishing it to? Who
Yep.
am I passing it to? I'm talking about Asar Thompson has ability to do what Ivy does, that 1-2 dribble right around his defender and then just lob it up for Duren. And he has that ability, that passing ability, that lob ability. He's been playing with his brother for I don't know how long. Duren is gonna lunch off of this young team and their ability to want to get each other involved.
Absolutely. Can I say something random about Marcus Sasser? Am I the only one that gets some Lindsey Hunter vibes when watching some of his highlights?
First
Like
night. Oh, go ahead, bro.
when I see him and like when Troy like called him like a rock, like that's what I think of when I talk about like my love for backup point guards. And like I immediately like was going to Steve and I was like, am I just overrating him in my head because he's a backup point guard and I love them, or is this guy a steal? and he pretty much told me I was overrating him because he's a backup point guard. I'm in love with him. But like when
Not in Detroit though, man. Look, in Detroit, those guys have been the valued guys. You go and you say Lindsey Hunter, look at the playoffs. When I got to sit down, man, to talk with those guys, Lindsey and Darren on Big D Energy, shout out to those guys. I got to tell him to his face, like, bro, we talk about you on the table talk. Like straight up, we talk about the fact that when you look at the Detroit Pistons playoff stats, you're all through that, man. All through it as a playoff leader. And he's been a backup point guard here where he got a lot of that stuff. So it's like, yeah, when you sit here and you say, Lindsey Hunter, yeah, the first night I was like Killian Hayes, Marcus Sasser. I hope that they look at somebody like Mike James and Lindsey Hunter and say, you know what, we want to try and ascribe to be at least those guys because they made a difference to a championship winning team, and they're legends here because of that. If you don't know Mike James and Lindsey Hunter, you're not a real Detroit Pistons fan.
Yeah.
Those guys put in work, and when they came off the bench, you got to understand, bro. There were starters who were like, bro, I can't look. If Chauncey and Rip, I already had to defend these guys. Now you're having literally, and they were all defensive guys. Go and check Chauncey and Richard Hamilton's history. These guys were good defenders. Then all of a sudden, you got Mike James and Lindsey Hunter come off the bench.
And they brought a different level of energy too. It's like Chauncey and Rip brought that disciplined, stout level of defense where like you're just not you're going to have to work to get whatever you're getting. And then you just have these guys who come in who brought energy every single time. And it's like just when you think you're getting a break, it's like, oh, these guys came in and hit me with an uppercut.
Like, bro,
oh
me
crap,
out.
Lindsey Hunter just picked off our inbound pass, like out of nowhere, like
yep. And he's a 3-and-D combo guard. That's what I like about Marcus Sasser. And he's coming in, and he said it in the press conference. Look, I'm looking to help our guards because I look at myself as somebody who can play off ball. This is somebody that can help Killian Hayes because how much talent did he play with last year off the bench? When Killian looked his best, people said, well, it was just preseason. No, it was when the team was the healthiest. Remember when they was playing with Ivy and Duran and everyone was healthy and Cade? There were lineups when he was playing with Cade and with in such in I believe Bagley or like another big Stu in the preseason, and he was looking better, able to kind of hit those mid ranges. And I believe Ivy and Cade ended preseason with the same amount of field goal attempts, bro. And all of them averaging about the same amount of points. And then when the season hit and people got injured and more responsibility went on him with less help, he just kind of flustered, bro. He just did. Yeah. And that's where I'm hoping that someone like Sasser, and if Thompson's coming off the bench, and if they add mix up the lineups a little bit where he's playing with some shooters and such, man, I think that Killian and Sasser are going to be a good duo to have off the bench, bro.
Well, I was going to ask, like, like the other thing as well, like with Killian, I almost wonder, like, especially, if we don't see a whole lot of progress yet again, like coming into this season, we just see some more of Killian, like post Paris, and Sasser comes in, starts hitting shots. Another thing about this, by the way, Marcus Sasser's 22, so let's not pretend that he's not 2 or 3 years older than Jaden Ivey. And also, I feel like a lot of that is completely subjective in cap. But anyway, Sasser walks into the team as an elder statesman, 100%. Like that's exactly it. Like he's a guy that even though he's a rookie, the reason why he
4 years in college.
Yep, 4 years in college, like seasoned. As has lived a few extra years. His game has had a little extra development, and like he's a guy that can come in and, like exactly that. Like you just add another like high character locker room guy as well. Like it just like that strengthening of that locker room that they said that they would put against anybody. Both Asar and Sasser just both seem like insanely high character kids. I bet on their upside for sure.
And you know what? We kept sitting here, and the reason why we value Isaiah Stewart so much is because he has that Detroit dog in him that we're always talking about. And we're like, yo, man, we need more players like that because realistically, whenever we had a winner where we only gushed about one player having that, though we can look at guys like Ben Wallace, we knew Rasheed, Corliss, and the rest of the squad, they had that too. We knew that. You know what I'm saying? It was like something infectious throughout the whole team. So we didn't have to just sit around and say one player. I not that we have one player today that's like that, but Stewart is the one that we know. Like, if you look at the bad boys, they had the Rick, they had the Bill. On this squad, we need a couple of those guys. We need a couple more. I believe that Marcus Sasser is one of those guys that's kind of cut from that same DNA and that same cloth. He's just a guard, as Isaiah Stewart. And I believe that that's going to be something that makes him. I see him kind of versatile, even though he's a little bit undersized. He's versatile in terms of how pesky he plays his defense. I saw MTJ say he doesn't know about him on the bigger guards. That's the benefit of having a Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes, 6'4", 6'5". He's definitely going to be able to defend some of those bigger guards. But I believe that Marcus Sasser is somebody who is kind of high octane. And he makes it tough. Like the NBA has a lot of lazy guards, like in a lot of defense. Marcus Sasser reminds me of one of those guys like Marcus Smart, who's just like,
I
nah, I'm
was
not
just about
playing
to say
defense,
that
bro.
Marcus Smart, like, was like in his peak, is able to guard bigs, and I think Sasser is one of those guys that plays above his size. Like, I don't think he's going to come in and lock down taller guards, but like, I think he's a guy that's going to make their lives really difficult. I
Exactly,
think
yeah,
he's gonna
something
like.
like that.
I think he's gonna keep them in check with their handle. I think he's gonna keep players in check, like with
Sheesh.
inbounds. Like he's the type of guy that's going to take advantage of lazy moments. He's going to be the guy that's going to catch you slipping, for a lack of better terms. And like I think like yeah, he's like Chuck just said it. He's an annoying pest, and
Yeah.
that's the best compliment you can give like a small point guard on the defensive end.
Yep. And Troy Weaver kept saying it, and that was my thing, man. I tuned in on it early. I was like, he's going defense, 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 man. We talked about it before the draft. We talked about it right after the draft, and we talked about it at the introductory press conference. And then afterwards, he had this to say about Sar Thompson and Marcus Sasser. If we're going to restore to the levels of greatness before, these guys, and he said, their names, Asar Thompson and Marcus Sasser, are tailor made for that. And he
Yep.
talked about especially starting with the defensive side. Obviously, he believes that defensively they're going to be a little bit more ahead than their offense. And he stated that there's some nuances that Asar Thompson is going to have to figure out, but that he believes he is somebody day one that can play defense in the NBA just off of their energy, man, just off of how much they go. And I'm looking forward to that. I,
Yeah.
I I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping that he's somebody that you know, can spell Bojan quickly. I don't, if he's the third wing off the bench, the third wing in the game behind, Bojan, a sub, and then Osar, that's
Mhm.
okay. But I'm hoping he's like the first one off the bench if he's not starting.
I think he is gonna be the first off the bench. As much as I love Bojan, it's just hard for me to see him being a Piston through the weekend. Just with the way things are about to go down, with how desperate teams are gonna be to have players like with decent like that aren't super expensive that can help them win now. Like I think Bojan under the new
Yeah.
CBA just got more valuable, if I'm being honest with you.
That's what we've been saying, man. It's Troy Weaver is a mastermind. He was more valuable already underneath the old CBA. Signing for 20 million. Like, how do you get Bojan for that? And for the Pistons, you paid no Detroit tax.
Yep.
Now the CBA makes him even more valuable. What's good,
Yep.
brother?
I see a conversation starting in the comments, kind of asking if Killian's re-signed, how much? Someone said Killian is a long-term Piston. I
Let's start. Let's start this next segment. Upgrade or keep. I was gonna
let's
start with Bojan. I think we kind of already understand Bojan. I wanted to do bench edition. Um, but it's whoever. We'll leave it open to whoever we think is kind of movable or that we think is open. But let's start with Killian, bro. You go, bro.
I think keep for now because I think you don't have any like unless like you for whatever reason can package him in a trade that like gets you like like a quality backup point guard in return. Like I just think where it's at right now, I think Killian has almost little to no trade value. He would only be in a trade to me if he was packaged in a deal. um as far as like an extension, I don't think like I don't think he necessarily is commanding a massive market. Like if he were to get an extension, like my like someone asked a couple months ago what I would offer Killian for a contract. And I said 3 years, 18 million with a team option on the last 2 years. And I honestly think them drafting Marcus Sasser is them saying we're not here to linger on on our picks. We're not afraid to admit when we need to change direction. And like if Marcus Sasser does come in and and does some of those things more effectively day one than Killian, I think his future in Detroit just looks less and less clear because, I mean, if he's not even that third guard, then what is he?
I mean, that's about it. I've been sitting here saying that I like Killian on the team. I like what he brings to the table, especially when he's settled and when he's playing within himself. When there's more talent and when he's given a defined responsibility, I like him. Well, what I like about Killian Hayes, I see somebody here saying Killian is Eric Snow. I like the comp. I just don't know if Eric Snow would work in today's NBA as effectively as Eric Snow did in his own generation. But that doesn't mean that I believe that
Well, I
Killian
mean, in
Hayes
fairness,
can't work.
Killian doesn't work in the NBA either.
Yeah, but
I'm
that's
kidding.
not the
I'm kidding.
point.
I'm sorry. That was me.
Right. Well, no,
That was
right
me.
now, you're listen, bro. It's funny. It's
I'm sorry, Killian.
it's
That
funny.
wasn't me. That wasn't personal. That was just
No,
a joke.
I think he's playing out of position. I don't think
Yeah.
Killian Hayes is a point guard. I think he's a combo guard. It's
I
like when they tried to force Chauncey to be a point guard. Not that Killian Hayes is Chauncey Billups, but I feel like Killian Hayes with a little bit less responsibility to go out there and look to make the right play. He's just a basketball player that is a playmaker, not necessarily somebody who's go out there and dribble around like Steve Nash, who would make the assist happen. Steve Nash could go out there and do what I think they've been trying to make Killian Hayes do, or Ricky Rubio would do that. I don't think Killian Hayes is necessarily Ricky Rubio. He's not going out there just rope doping and
right.
passing. He's out there saucing and getting into the mid range and doing that. And if the pass is there, we see him make a great one-handed pass. I
He
don't think he's necessarily like just a pure point guard.
Yeah, he isn't like you are right in the sense that like that, a lot of times like he's put in that pure point guard position because of his passing and his playmaking. But it is interesting. He's kind of a like it's kind of a conundrum where he's a combo guard where you can defend multiple positions, where you can play him off ball. But on the other hand, you can't really play him off ball because teams leave him wide open from beyond the arc, and you can't trust his shot's going to fall on a consistent basis. I mean, like, what was his shooting like, what were his shooting splits down the stretch at one point? Like, this guy was shooting, like 20% from the field for, like, a month.
Whoo! He got to
Like,
get his head right, brother.
yeah, this isn't, like, again, like, this isn't to be mean, this isn't to be,
We got to
like,
be
anything.
real. You
Yeah,
got to be real, bro. It's the
if
X's and
it's
O's
been
of it.
3 years and you still haven't seen that flash, that moment that says, "This is why he's here." Like, that's just the reality, right?
Yeah, let me see what his last 20 games were like, because he had a little bit of a pickup. His last 20 games of the season, Killian Hayes averaged 12.5 points, 7.3 assists, 3.4 rebounds. But let's look at these shooting splits, man.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, that's because it starts off so bad. It starts off so bad, but he
Yep,
stabilizes
13 points on 20% from 3, 39% from
38.7%.
the field.
Yeah, 38, 39% field goal, 20% from three. This is not good.
7
It's not
assists,
good,
3 turnovers.
bro. On 3.5 attempts per game.
Yeah. Like that's the thing is like, like even like part
Man,
of the like,
no, that's tough.
like the problem initially with Killian was, man, he has opportunities. Why doesn't he take them? This last season, he took them, but that was the problem. He took them. Like, you
Let's
know, like
see.
like that's just the thing is, and again, like not like this isn't like a dogging or bashing thing, but when we are talking about like Marcus Sasser coming in day one, I think he's going to shoot better than 20% from 3 in the NBA day one. I'm going to go out on a limb on that.
Killian did average, just to be fair, the 7.3 assists per game. He had some really, really, really big assist games in there too, 10,
For
13,
sure.
11, 11.
Absolutely.
And then the steals and the blocks he did with stocks, he averaged about 2.1. Anybody up over 2 stocks a game is somebody that is giving effort on defense. Steals 1.6, blocks 5, and 0.5. And I know that some people go 0.5. Killian's a guy who, when you kind of look at this over like even the last 20 games, it was a lot of games where he was at least getting 1 block or 2 blocks, and a couple games where he was getting none and 2 blocks. So it's like he has the effort, man. Like, we're not even sitting here talking about his skill. It's
Right.
just a matter of, brother, what's not clicking. You go through these stretches where we see you kind of playing like baby Cade, and we're like, there it is. It's like that, so that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like, And then he has games where we're just absolutely like, man, like soul stretches, and it's just like, bro, get it together because we know you can hoop. We know
Yeah.
you can hoop. I don't. What are we doing with Killian, man? What are you
I
doing with Killian? Upgrade or keep?
I honestly think I honestly think they don't have any reason to not give him at least one more season at
Yeah.
this point. You know, possibly up to the deadline. If they get to a point where they realize Sasser is ready to take that full-time backup role and that, there isn't that like those lineups with Killian along with those guards, like if they find that just isn't working, I could see them again maybe packaging that like him in a trade they make at the deadline. But again, I think with where his value's at, I think you have no reason to not give him one more year, you know?
Yeah, especially for what Chuck is saying here on the screen. Can
Yeah,
Monty connect? So wait and see. And it's like, yeah, we
yeah.
wait and see because we know
Yeah,
that the skill is there, bro. We
yeah,
know it.
one more year, brand new coaching staff, bring in Jarrett Jack, another really good former point guard. Let him see if he can get to work with Killian, a guy who's a, potential future head coach.
Mhm.
See what that does. Because, again, like there are still a lot of things to like. Like if Killian can become an effective off-ball combo guard, that would be awesome to bring off the bench. You talk about potential defensive lineups with Asar, Killian,
The
Cade.
idea is beautiful, bro. It's
Mhm.
chef's kiss if Killian can be that consistent 10, 6, and give me 2 stocks off the off the bench, bro, with like 5 rebounds, 3, 4, 5 rebounds.
Like, if he was literally
Oh my
just
word.
even
But with
if
good
he
shooting
was
splits.
even if he was C minus from 3, not even average, like
Mm.
just below average, how much better would that be? Like, we'd be having a different conversation right now. We'd be talking about potentially a 4-year, $64 million deal. You know what I mean?
Hey, shout out to the bro, Jeff Iafredi,
That
man.
beautiful
With
bastard. Got to talk
everything.
to freaking Tom Izzo on Monday,
Oh, did you see
just
that? He's Hollywood now.
yeah, man. I was like, when I saw him on the pod, I was like, oh, Jeff, you beautiful bastard. It's so good to see you in here. Look at that pose too. That beautiful photo. Like, man, Jeff, we should get a photography section in photo session in suit. How
Let's
funny
go,
would that
man.
be? All three of us go get photos taken with each other, like around Detroit.
We should. We
That
gotta
would
do
be
that for
fun.
Kool-Aid and the Murph, bro.
Oh
We
yeah,
gotta debut that there, man. Tell everybody to go there and check it out.
dude,
That would be an awesome way to launch the content, man.
you and I are gonna have to do a photo session at a Burger King.
We have to do a documentary of it too, bro.
Oh my god, sitting in the play
Recapping the first
place,
night.
like sitting there in a play place, like sitting like looking off to the side, like all cool, like
Yep. Hey, listen, man. Y'all definitely check in 8 to 10. Check in with Jeff and Sam every morning, bro. Monday through Friday on the Morning Woodward Show. Man, they're putting in some good work. Shout out to Jeff. He's holding it down. I appreciate what he's out there doing, man. So I appreciate you being here too, Brody. As always, man. All love. I see Mr. Broder in the building as well, man. Shout out to Broder.
yeah,
He's
what up,
that nice
brother?
beat writer for Woodward Sports, man, and he is doing his thing. Shout out to Brody, man. Just a good
Uh,
guy too. Just being good
absolutely.
people.
So, the I saw someone ask, I saw Doug McMenamin ask, does Killian's salary come off the books after next season? It does. So currently the Pistons have a team option on Killian next year, and actually it is this year is the final year of his contract. So it's he's owed 7.4 million this year, and then
10,
after this season, it would be talking about a new deal. So
$10 million cap hold next summer until they either what? They have to tender him, right? And then they have to either decide to relinquish or to accept his rights by giving
yep.
him another contract or
I think it's by like
or by
November
trading
or
him.
December. It's like some point, like in like the middle of the season. I think they have to make like some form of decision. I know, like I'll say this much. I mean, I think you and I agree on this. I feel more comfortable about a deal getting done with Beef Stew than I do Killian.
Yeah. Yeah. With Killian, it's like for the right price, eh, he works so beautifully, man. He just does. Even right now, we need him to shoot a little bit better. But when we're sitting here talking about the difference between, hey,
We need him to
somebody,
shoot well.
we do. We do. If he can, and I think he can do it. I really do. Oh my goodness. If we can just get him up to like 30% from 3-point range, bro. Just 30% from three. Give me 43, 44, 45% from the field, please.
Yeah,
Like all of his stats, because when people are like, oh, but he averaged like 10 and 6, it's just like, but he couldn't shoot worth a lick. And with what they're talking about doing right now, I don't know how much that really meshes when they have other point guards out there who can come in and kind of play that style. But I want to be fair. I do believe that a coach like Monty Williams is going to be able to, in this 1 year that we give him, man, definitely get him
like
figured
last
out.
summer, maybe last summer, we talked about how Killian can't leave Detroit, how he has to stay in the States all summer. Maybe he needs to. Maybe we need to send him to France all summer. Maybe we do the polar opposite this year. We say, "Don't come back until training camp."
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, bro, he has to go back there and get something right, bro. When that game went the way it did out there in France between the Pistons and the Bulls, something just wasn't right. Go back out there and reconnect with your homeland, bro, and come back refreshed.
Yeah,
I
man.
agree with you on that one. I with Stewart though, just kind of going down the some of these guys that we got to kind of make some decisions on. Yeah, I do. I agree. There's a lot of people out there who are like, "Hey, stop talking up Stu. Stop talking them up." I'm like, the type of play and energy and intrinsic ability that he just brings to the table, you can't just copy that. Would I
Right.
love for him to be a little bit taller? Sure. Would I love for him to be a little bit more athletic? Sure. But the DNA that he has and his ability to be able to kind of imprint that with other players and young players coming in to make sure that the coach and the foundation is set, I absolutely love that. When we're
Yep.
talking about a guy like Udonis Haslam and what he did for Heat culture, all the way back from his playing days to who he was as a kind of this kind of player coach. That's what I see when I hear like kind of this Al Horford thing, and I know that that's where Isaiah Stewart is trying to get. I feel like Isaiah Stewart, as it relates to the heartbeat of it all, the culture of it all, he's like that Udonis has some piece, and sometimes you
Absolutely, he is.
need those types of players on your squad.
Yeah, I mean, you were there in person a lot more, and I mean, you were around the team a bit more than I was last year. But like, even just from watching the games from home, like it was abundantly apparent just how much more vocal he was in this locker room over the last year. How much his leadership has really become a staple of this locker room in a short period of time. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were talking about this guy as who is this Isaiah Stewart kid? Coming off the bench and just getting himself minutes just off effort and effort alone. And now, like I know again, I know a lot of people are just looking at him as as a second unit big, and that's what he's gonna be. But again, that's a player I'm not putting a ceiling on.
No, no, nope, not at all. It's Rod and Terry both said that Stewart has been putting in some work, like real work this offseason to get his footwork better, get his footwork faster, to get his shot more stable.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say, like you talked about Jalen Duren being like one of like the candidates to be like most improved next year. I think Isaiah Stewart could sneakily be on that in that conversation as well.
I thought about that one, but I'm like, man, he already good. He's like
Yeah.
like the steps forward he already took. I know people want him to be better, but you got to understand. And I gave this analogy on the What We're Pistons podcast. When you're building a house, sometimes you're not. Yeah, we want that boy done like right now. But Stewart is what three-year, third-year player going into his fourth year.
Yep.
He's a guy who came in as a prototypical last era power forward and big man. He would have thrived, man, 10, 15 years ago in this NBA, and he's changed successfully, something that we haven't seen our big men be able to do. He's gone in there. He actually shot the 30 something plus percent from 3-point range. He actually went out there and had stretches where he was hitting as much as like 40% from three before his shoulder got messed up. He has to get better in a lot of different areas. I want to see him become a better
Absolutely.
screen setter. And I want to
Mhm.
see him be somebody that, and I believe that this will happen with more talent and more bigs on the roster, just become a better rebounder, a more dominant rebounder, even more so than you are. We talked about, hey, can he get that, that over 10 rebounds a game mark? Not that that's what you need to be indicative of a good rebounder, but we know that on this squad and with the way that they're going to be kind of built, it's going to be imperative for their bigs to actually be people that can rebound the ball. So but he's not perfect, but he's somebody that I feel like you just got to have him, bro.
Right. He's not like he's not untradeable. And,
No,
there's this whole
he's not.
movement on Twitter. Guys, he's not untradeable. He's not untradeable. Stop saying he's untradeable. I don't hear anyone saying he's untradeable. But anyway, like I feel like he's a guy that you would trade, that you would vomit before doing so, but only because you know for a fact that what you're getting in return is damn worth it. Like that's the type of move where
Yeah,
Isaiah Stewart gets traded. But like, I just, especially, I know we just keep beating this drum home, but under the new CBA, getting this type of player under this type of contract right now is the perfect thing, for where Detroit's at, because I think you can get a pretty team friendly deal. I think 464 is like 4 years for 64 is a pretty reasonable. Like I'd be okay with giving Stu upwards of 15 plus million a year. I think he's earned it. Like I think,
yeah.
like on top of that, like I think, you just can make the bet that, he's about to round the corner and really start to mature and do his game. And I think, like he's the type of player where, he's going to be refined because of the time he's going to be that he puts in.
Yeah,
Like,
and you know what? Scant Williams just put it up to. I'm gonna address this one first because it kind of connects. Boyan and Burks contracts are the most valuable at the deadline, and Scant said it, man. Be surprised how many teams want Stu. Listen, when we're talking about the players on this squad that we know other teams want, is Boyan, is Burks, is Stu. Look, we're not talking about the core. With Cade, Ivy, Duran, yeah, of course they would take a Sar, Sasser. We're talking about kind of some of these more movable, more established pieces. The Pistons actually have guys that teams want on actually pretty decently tradable deals in the past. If there was somebody that somebody wanted, like a team that would have taken a flyer on Andre Drummond, why would they have done it on a max contract though?
right.
It
They're
just
like,
don't work that way.
we would have done it on his rookie deal, but then you gave him $100 million.
Yep. Yep. And so Troy Weaver has his team kind of set up nice. And I think it is beautiful that now we actually have players that we know other teams want. Other teams have had to come and play ball with us, whether they want our players or whether they want our cap space. And
Yeah.
the Pistons have played that thing beautifully. With Jeremy Grant alone, it was a player that a team wanted, and another team wanted our cap space. In one fellow swoop, he traded Jeremy Grant, got the draft pick, traded that draft pick for 6 players, bro. 6 players, which turned out to be realistically Alec Burks, Jalen Duran, some good run for Kevin Knox. You know what I'm saying? Nerlens Noel got to come in here and kind of kick the tires and realize Detroit was a pretty cool city. A look at Kemba Walker. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey,
Kemba
that
got
was
to
worth
take
it.
you know what? Kemba got to come by and he might have gotten a free lunch, like we
I don't
don't
even know if he
know.
stepped foot in the city, bro. I don't even
I,
know.
I think like honestly, like, yeah, there's no chance he even stepped in Detroit. Like they probably had like a couple phone calls being like, hey, we don't want you playing. We're just here to absorb your salary, you know? Like, which, again, like, I mean, we talk about weird trades like that where it's like, how in the world did Kemba Walker become a Piston? I think, like you talk about like the potential upgrades or, like upgrades or keeps. Like, I think we're about to see some interesting stuff. Kemba became a oh, Kemba could hardly walk her at the end there.
John
No
Bucks, no
comment.
so fast,
Anyway,
dog.
no comment. Anyway,
All right, who else on this roster, man, needs to be upgraded or kept, man? Like, seriously.
well, I think an unspoken upgraded. I know we've kind of made jokes ever since the season's ended. Corey Joseph won't be back next year. Like I think Sasser was your upgrade. Like in that front. Like I think Kojo like as good as good as he can be as far as a steadying hand. And he won us games last year. Like people don't want to admit it, but he won us some games last year. I think he doesn't come back. And I think you've already made your upgrade in Marcus Sasser.
Yep, yeah. I see people still like your Herb Jones suggestion. But shout out to Doug, man, one of the regulars, one of the supporters. I'm grateful for your support here, man. And definitely for supporting the channel. He said, any predictions on what to look for tomorrow and this weekend? Do you think Troy will keep his cards close to the vest? As always, you guys are the best. Doug, you are the best, bro.
I
I appreciate you, man, a lot. And I
Yeah,
do. Troy has traditionally kept his cards close to the vest. And whenever things have leaked out, it didn't go down the way that it was rumored to be. Like, so people say, well, we heard about the Bagley trade. We heard that he liked Bagley. Yeah, but when we heard that he liked Bagley, we were told that Sadiq Bey or Jeremy Grant was going to have to be involved in that deal. And it wound up being literally
Trey
not even
Lyles.
better maids. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, bro, we didn't even have to send them better maids in Fago. We sent them like we sent them great value. You know what I'm saying? Like Trey Lyles, what was it, bro? You tell me. Trey Lyles and
Yeah, it was Trey
why am I
Lyles,
blanking? Why am I
Josh
blanking?
Jackson,
Josh Jackson.
and I think a second round pick.
Come on, man. Come on,
Yeah.
man.
And
Come on, man.
so one thing I will say, I know a lot of people are going to be freaking out when free agency starts and they see a lot of and a lot of people agreeing to contracts, and they're going to be like, why hasn't Detroit done anything yet? Like free agency, just to explain, like again, like I don't be surprised if you don't hear anything about what Detroit's doing until late Saturday or Sunday. I think you'll hear rumblings beginning on Friday around 5. But again, the way free agency works, dominoes have to fall. And especially now that there's not one major domino now, Kool-Aid. There's potentially two with what Portland does with Damian Lillard. So teams are going to wait and see what happens with James Harden. People are going to wait and see what happens with, with this situation as well. I think, and again, the other thing as well, like, do you give Cam Johnson a qualifying offer and tie up your cap space at the beginning of free agency with the risk of not being able to potentially go get other guys? So again, that's why, like, that's why I think they might be patient. It could potentially be a trade that happens later in the weekend. But I just say, like, if something doesn't happen right at 5, it's not the end of the world.
No, not at all. Not at all. Man, as I continue to listen or think about this free agency, man, I think Troy Weaver's just sitting back with all options, and he's kind of set himself up really, really nicely with a foundation of saying this from the start. We want to see our guys play. We like what we've put out there. The additions that we made last year of Alec Burks, Cade, and Bojan Bogdanovic would have put some shooters around guys like Killian Hayes, like Cade Cunningham, and now we know that Jaden Ivey even and what they expect out of Oscar Thompson. It's like we got to see these guys play because they're gonna have a ball of energy, man. They're a young team with some pretty savvy and strategic vets around them, like Bojan and Alec Burks. They're not as young as we make them out to be.
Yeah.
Especially when you got old souls on the squad like Sasser. I know he's a rookie, but he's at least off the court going to carry himself a little bit differently. And on the court, whether or not he's still learning the game, he's still going to be somebody that's mature basketball-wise. Cade Cunningham is another one of those guys. And they talked about this, how Cade carries himself. Monty Williams shared the story about how when the Phoenix Suns first played Cade Cunningham, and he just kind of saw him walking in the tunnel and had this interaction with Cade Cunningham, and how he addressed him. How he kind of defended himself. And Monty said he called Troy right away and was like, bro, you got one. This Cade Cunningham, you got one. You got one. So it's like, I don't know. I was going to ask you what you thought about this one here.
I mean, kind of,
It's only one tonight.
Well, in all seriousness, man, you talk about the reality of things. Like, there's certain, like, Monty Williams is not going to be as gracious as Dwayne Casey was this last couple of years. Like,
that's a great thing to point out.
Like Dwayne Casey was, very much in a, we're going to let people play through their mistakes. His role was solely development. Let these guys like grow, get out and help them through these minutes. Monty Williams is very much on the development track, but he's not looking to lose any games. He cares about his wins and losses. Like, he's not coming in to like tarnish his reputation. He's not coming in to be a part of a losing program. Like, he's coming in with different expectations. And so, the reality of it is, like, if Killian isn't playing well for a stretch, I don't think he's going to be shy to put a DNP in there.
Yep, and Chuck said it best down there. And that's the thing. If you're going to put a DNP in there, then that means you got to get better players in there too.
Mhm.
When you're here to kind of get better and you have kind of some vets who can push the rookies a little bit, that's a little bit different. you'll push the rookies and young players than actually getting vets in here who will beat them out. And I know that Troy said he doesn't want to sign somebody that will block these guys from being able to achieve. But what this means is they got to go out there and work, man. And if
Yep.
they're seeing what they're seeing and they're like, okay, we see these guys, we see the run, we got to go get some shooters. We got to go get some bruisers. We got to go get another wing player. You know, he's going to make that assessment and do that. And I don't think that he's going to do that if he believes his guys are ready to go. So this one is one of the tougher ones. In previous off seasons, we've been able to go in and say, yep, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. With this one, we're like, they still need a wing, but where are they going to go and get that wing? Do they believe Asar Thompson is really the star player that's going to kind of come up next to Cade Cunningham, Ivy, and Durden and these guys? Or do they believe they still need to go out there and get somebody as established as a Cam Johnson, or even say, you know what, no, we got to make a splash for Jeremy Grant? That's where I'm having a hard time being able to decide and decipher kind of where their mind is at.
Yeah.
You keep saying they want to see what they have.
Right.
But I keep feeling like they're one kind of established NBA player away, man.
Right. And again, they're certainly going to hit the free agency market hard. I think they're going to put an offer sheet out there for Cam Johnson. I think they're still going to try to pursue this road. But again, I think, I think it is important to point out just one more time. The Utah Jazz just got John Collins for Rudy Gay in a second round pick. I know John Collins isn't a guy that's going to blow up the league. I'm not calling him like an amazing player, but he inherently makes Utah better. And all they had to do to get him was trade Rudy Gay in a second round pick. So when you look at teams throughout, when you look at teams throughout the league, just to name a couple, Atlanta, they're going to be desperately looking to get under the second apron. Chicago is closer to the second apron than they would like to be. Teams like the Knicks want to maintain financial flexibility and also maintain flexibility to get a star one day going forward. Philadelphia has to figure out what they're doing, especially with James Harden now. Milwaukee is getting awful close there with, with Brook Lopez, and they're going to have to make some decisions this summer, but also a ton of teams out west, Golden State, Minnesota, they're paying $400 million for 3 bigs. It's insane. What I'm saying is, again, just because there's players available on the open market doesn't mean those are the only players on the market.
Yep. And I like what Chuck said here too. The goal now is to win and progress compared to losing and progression. And that's exactly what it is. I wanted to pull up and address another comment. What if we had the right players with the wrong coach? And it's like, I think we had the right players. I think we had the right coach for what he was supposed to do, because Dwayne Casey kind of threw the end of his career away for the Pistons. Monty Williams is not in a position to go through what Casey went through. If Cade Cunningham gets injured and the number one big, which at that time was Marvin Bagley, if it winds up being Duren being injured, say this year, Duren and Cade's injured, Monty Williams gonna have a hard time, bro. And that's what happened to Casey. They entered last season with knowing. Y'all remember how much we were like, wow, Cade Cunningham and Marvin Bagley picking rolls for the win, bro. Yo, Sadiq Bey's dropping 50 burgers. Yo, Killian Hayes 13-game stretch. Awesome. We were like, yo, and Cade Cunningham is out here doing stuff that only Michael Jordan has done. And we were sitting here like, yo, we can't wait till next season. And they started that season injured. Cade Cunningham gone for the year. Marvin Bagley injured was a bigger loss than we ever want to give it credit for, because nobody else on this squad could set a pick and roll to save their lives, bro. That's also huge in a pick and roll offense.
Also,
huge.
If the Pistons do come out and struggle to start this season, I don't want to hear a damn thing about it being the coach's fault, because we got the top class in the league now, and that excuse is over. So I just personally think that conversation, to me, like, it's just not one worth having anymore. I think Dwayne Casey, paid a service to this team that a lot of people just never fully understand, because
they wouldn't have done it. What good coach, bro, would afford to say, hey, I'm going to make sure that these players develop. We're not, regardless of wins and losses, we understand where we are on a rebuild, and we're going to make sure that we come away with something. What if we had something to show from any of the previous generations, bro?
Right.
That's why we held on to Andre Drummond and paid him for so long, Because for how many years in a row did the Pistons go and have nothing to show from the previous drafts? On previous drafts.
I get PTSD watching the Chicago Bulls because it feels like I'm watching the Pistons from the 2010s just move to Chicago and just do all of that there. I'm like, oh no, why'd you sign Vooch to 3 years, $60 million? Why'd you call that trade with Orlando a good trade? Oh no. Like, yeah, yeah. I like the reason why we talk up Troy Weaver as much as we do, and people call us Troy Weaver fanboys. The reality of it is, we're just in awe of good general management, and we haven't had that in Detroit,
Yeah.
since the prime days of Joey D. And so that's why we give it as much credence as we do, because that's what you
Shout
need.
out Joe D. I'm glad you qualified that since the prime days of Joe D.
I mean, he was
Huh?
cooking until he forgot what the ingredients were. You know what I mean? Like he was doing well, and then
It was like, bro, you always need a sprinkle of Chauncey Billups and a dash of Ben Wallace. But those were the two players that were like, hey, I'm not paying you, and I think I want to trade you. It was just like, no,
and
no,
then and yeah,
no.
and,
It's
and
like, dog, come on. I'm still inside, like, no. I love you, Joe D. I
yep,
really do, but wow,
he
that
was
one
be-
hurt.
he was a lot better at general managing than his other backcourt partner Isaiah Thomas, who
Yeah.
is getting another chance in Phoenix right now. So we'll see how that goes.
Hmm.
He said,
I feel
"F the
like he
second apron. We're bashing into that and running it over."
Oh man, but I like this here. Well, we still need chemistry. This from Apollo, one of the regulars. He said can't judge any team, the first, quarter of the season. And I feel that. I always like to be able to wait and judge a team after you've gotten in 20 to 25 games to actually see what you have. But
We were called Kool-Aid. We were saying this last year, and people were calling us idiots and saying, "No, this is terrible. How are you not calling for people to be fired?" I'm not blaming you specifically, Apollo. It's just a lot of people have this mindset, and then they literally flip and do the exact opposite during the season. I feel like you and I have been saying this for a long time.
we have, and honestly, this season is the one where I believe they won't need as much time this year to get that chemistry. Back in the day, they needed chemistry because you had so many different moving parts and pieces, and the game was just different. But when you have guys and playmakers as smart as Cade Cunningham, all you need are the right types of players. And I think this is kind of what swayed me from Jeremy Grant more towards Cam Johnson. When you have guys whose mindset is to be the shooter in the corner, is to be the guy who knows how to head short corner, who knows how to be the guy who moves from the upper diagonal 3-point shot to the corner as Cade Cunningham is driving, you don't have to build chemistry. You just have to go out there and do your job. And that's where certain players like a Cam Johnson, who he's only played off of good players. He's only ever been a relief, like a valve. He's been, and he's somebody that has shown when necessary, I can step some things up just a little bit too. That type of stuff is just like, okay, if our connector is truly our connector, I believe that shaves off a little bit of the time needed for chemistry. They do need it. I'm not taking that away from you
Oh,
because we
they
still have
absolutely need
second
it.
year Ivy and some other players who they are special, but the quality that that his specific trait that he has, if he's good to go, I believe that helps the Pistons a lot in the chemistry department. Bojan, Alec Burks, Ivy off ball, Duran in the pick and roll. Man, it's set up honestly for Cade to lunch if he wants to, if he's
Yep.
ready to go.
Yep, and I think, like, he is just in a prime position to succeed 100%, and I just think, yeah, man, I just think, yeah, give this team some time to run with it, and I think, like, we talk a lot about people's shooting percentages, like, I think just, like, having Cade as the passer he is, like, I think Asar Thompson, I think his shooting will be better playing with Cade and Ivy, you know?
Yep. And honestly, his field goal percentage will be better because the responsibility isn't as on him. We said this with Ivy, and then Ivy put the responsibility on me. I got this anyway. But with Killian Hayes, as the responsibility drops and we give him opportunities with more talented players around him, is when we see better Killian. Asar Thompson is just a more naturally, gifted kind of offensive minded person. That confidence that he has, That to me is what's going to make the difference in his early parts of his career. There's a lot of players who they look, bro. They kind of we saw Killian come in and kind of duck. I don't think Asar is that type of guy. I just don't. I feel like even if somebody crosses him over, I feel like his mindset is, bro, I gotta get him back. I gotta at least
No,
dunk on him or something. Like
he's
just hearing him
aggressive.
talk, it's like, I
He's
like
aggressive. There is nothing passive about Asar Thompson.
Asar Thompson's
Like,
character, bro. He's
like when
tough.
he's looking to compete literally at all times. Like he was asked, like his brother was right in the front row. What are your thoughts about like you guys matching up in summer league? Oh, I'm beating by 30. And I know he was joking, but he was dead serious.
He's already
And
told him that. I told him that already. We popping him by 30 and they're not winning.
yeah, and he and like and he's the guy where again, I know we don't know how legitimate overtime elite is from a talent perspective. We don't know how to compare that to other leagues. But again, you don't look at the stats, you don't hyper focus on their performances in that league. You focus on what type of effort did they show when they were in that league. When they could have been stat patters, for lack of better terms. Neither of those guys led the league in any statistical category, but you know what they did? They played their asses off. They played defensive style basketball. They played winning basketball at overtime elite. And like you go back and you watch like some clips of like some of their defensive highlights. Like there's almost as many defensive highlights of Asar Thompson as there are offensive.
I like
Like
that. I know people make a big deal about the shooting. But he's somebody I want to kind of wait and see. I want to see him in the NBA because
every
Jaden
guy
Ivey,
who comes into the league has to work on their shooting. And of all the guys that are coming in that you bet on the kid who has a good form, who's insanely high character, who's been a professional basketball player for 2 years now. Like he was overtime at like we don't know what that league is, but we know he learned how to be a pro. And everyone who's ever been around him has said he's a dog. Those kids are going to play in the league for a long time. You bet on that kid.
yep, yep, definitely. And I like this too, man. What MTJ has to say about Asar. He has it easy. I don't know how easy he has it because according to the team, they believe he has the ability to guard the best player on the other team and take pressure off of Cade Cunningham and Ivy on the defensive end. The same way that we hope Cade and Ivy take the pressure off of Asar on the offensive end of things. But what I was saying earlier with Ivy, he had so many questions about his 3-point shot coming into the league. They said that he didn't shoot well. And do you guys remember how terrible, like Charles Barkley, terrible Ivy was in the mid range in college? Let's just talk about it. We could talk about it now because our guys figured some things out. But it was something where I was like, he can get there. And it's not like defenses were just letting him get there. He could get there. But he had to figure this thing out. And when he got with NBA training, who actually focused in on him, what do we see? A guy who not instantly, let me be fair, but gradually began to show a little bit of this wiggle in the mid-range game to the
Yep.
point that we realized this is a part of his game. Then we started seeing him hit the three. Now we're like, he's a three-point shooter, 35, 36%. He can hit the three. Stretches where he was hitting 40, 42% from three. And in the mid-range where he was hitting, there was a stretch in the season like 56% in the mid-range, bro. That's
By the
great
way,
for a guard like
high
that.
30s for a guy like him is really good from beyond the arc. Like
Yep.
I know like some of the best 3-point shooters in the league hover around 45, like 44%. So like if you have a guy like Jaden Ivey who's as much of a slasher as he is, who he's not known for his shooting, the fact like if he can knock threes down from a 37 like to like a 37 38% clip, that means he has to be respected. They can't leave him open. Like they have and do you know how much more that opens up for his driving game and with his athleticism? That's what takes the
Speak on
lid
it,
off,
Sean.
Kool-Aid.
Speak on it, Sean. It's a
That's what
trampoline.
takes the lid off.
And that's the thing. Asar Thompson's gonna now understand in the NBA, bro. If you can hit a jump shot with everything you have athletically, man, you're dunking on somebody. You do it at least once a game, and they're gonna know, bro. Defenses are gonna approach him so just gingerly. Like if as long as Ivy keeps it up, because you're gonna watch, they're gonna try and break him. They're gonna try and rough up Ivy to start the season. If he continues to show he is what he is, that'll start to fade. And Asar Thompson, same type of thing, man. Like I want to see him go out there and just work hard at this.
Yeah.
They're still young, bro. Like people keep talking about their shot. I'm like, man, like most of us didn't look, bro. If he went to college, I think he would have been a better shooter. And I think he's about to get his college of it all right now. We've seen these Pistons go and help a few of these people tweak their shots. According to Cade Cunningham, they've helped him as well figure out the arch on his shot that he missed. Some of it was due to fatigue in the leg. Hopefully, the injury, that being repaired helps that. But he also said it was getting stretched out when he moved from college to the NBA 3, and that they're going to help him. They just didn't want to change it too much in season, which I actually appreciate. With a guy like Cade, because he was still hitting that mid range, you don't mess with that too much, man. He was still finding ways to be effective.
Yeah, you can't mess with the jump shot in season either. Like that's a thing, people presume I don't know a whole lot about hoops since, I look the way I do, but I did play a lot of hoops when I was younger. I know that like in order to master any type of, like any type of new rhythm, any type of new form, you have to put in thousands of hours, thousands of shots. Like you have to be in the like that's a months long process.
Hey, hold on, man. I see shout out to Jalen, HTV, man, one of our faithfuls. He hit me up. He's like,
Oh
man.
yeah. Hey,
dropping Taco Bell the shot, airdropping Taco Bell the shot.
Oh, best believe, Jalen, that's where I'm heading right when this stream ends. I'm not even kidding. 2 grilled cheese burritos are heading my way, dude. I'm telling you, I have been craving it. I don't care if I die walking out to my car because I'll just be breathing in pure toxic smoke. But like,
oh my gosh,
it's worth it. It's worth it to get that Taco Bell. Can I get an amen?
She's Tommy Hendricks. Sean knows what's good.
Damn straight.
Look at Apollo.
Hey, I'm down 70 pounds over the last year and a half. So I think I can do what I want. All right. Like, hey, I'm doing pretty well on that front.
Shout out to the love that Jalen's getting in the comments from Doug. KDA said, Jalen, for what?
Getting all this love?
That still lives, bro.
Getting all this love? For what?
That Hey, Apollo said, pray for his toilet.
Oh, believe me, my brother, man. My stomach is already my stomach has moved past that point. My colon is like an industrial freaking plant. The way I've tortured it. Anyway.
He said, shout out to being down 70 pounds, and that's an accomplishment.
Appreciate it, man.
All of this has kind of been a journey for us all, man, and it's been an incredible one of family, one of kind of professionalism, one of extended family. I told somebody the other day, like, we do this for the people that are sitting here on this stream right now, man.
Yeah.
Our love of the Pistons, we've always loved the Pistons, but the community that we do this with, the community that we do this for, the people that we make content for, we know that, hey, we keep it pushing so that we can continue to support each other in other ways, not just ourselves. Most of this is a labor of love, and it's something that has honestly helped me grow a lot over the last couple years, and that just as as a person, but professionally as well, and I appreciate it 100%, man. This community is a blessing. 100%. And I'm gonna continue to try and keep kicking as long as I can, man. Like I love it. It's kind of brought a love of the game back that I didn't know I was even missing, man.
Seriously. Oh, 100%, man. I mean, dude, it's a lot of fun, and it's like I always look forward to the shows, and it's like we kind of have like like almost like mini shows within our text messages, within our phone calls, and then like all the stuff that we do, like all the stuff, like all the times that we talk. Like I'm always just waiting for when we can hop back on and just just chop it up, man. And no, I am not. Listen, all love to Cade and the Cunningham family. I think I would want to die within 2 hours of being vegan. I think I don't know how I could not do it. Like all the credit in the world to Cade and his family, I could not do it. But you might be less in some ways, but you bring more every night.
Let's rock, bro. Let's rock, man. I love our team. I really do.
We do got a good team. Do. Someone, by the way, like before we close out, I like this. I feel like there's a part of this free agency that we just haven't addressed yet. It's just kind of painful. As a player that would be perfect for this team that we have no chance of getting, that is swooing a lot of teams.
Don't
Bruce
say
Brown.
Dylan Brooks? No, I'm just playing.
Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, I still, like, I'm not going to harp on that trade I think it was the right thing to clear house. You don't cling on to role players when you're starting your rebuild. But I mean, man, like for whatever reason, when
Yeah.
like for years we could not nail drafting in the first round, but we could always find these gems in the middle of the second. And like seriously though, like
Yeah.
Bruce Brown was a
You're
guy that
right.
like day one when we drafted him, I
We
loved
know.
that pick. I was like, he could actually play a role. And then he started year one. Even though he didn't have the jump shot, he still came in affected games. Like when we saw this guy go and play with Kevin Durant, like we knew he was going to thrive. And then get him,
Yep.
alongside Jokic, it's a wrap. You
Yep.
know,
I shout out to Bruce Brown. That is one where I understand the business of it all at the time being, and the fact that honestly, Bruce Brown on this team, he could not serve the purpose that he's serving on winning teams, and that's the thing. Like the
he
window
wouldn't be the
was just
player
kind
he
of
is
off.
now if he was still in Detroit.
Not at all. Not at all. He got to go out there and kind of spread his wings, stretch his legs a little bit. And honestly, next to good players, sometimes is when you get to develop your game even more. When you know that you're not a star of the league, sometimes playing with other good players and other stars, they're able to help you become better. They're able to, and this is the thing that we're saying that we hope Cade can do for our team, is help the guys on his squad get better, and they will. They'll get there. Bruce Brown's a guy who may be down the road someday if the Pistons handled this thing right. And we said Troy Weaver's a guy who generally handles these things pretty classily, to make sure that if they ever have to revisit something, they can. That's the reason why we can even sit here and talk about, and we've seen the rumors and reports of Pistons and Jeremy Grant.
Right.
Maybe there's a window of opportunity down the road because Bruce Brown absolutely fits the mold of Detroit, man.
He does. It's just even though like players understand the business of it all, and Troy Weaver does handle it right, there's something about the team that not only the team that drafted you, trading you, but the first team that traded you. Like like
Yeah,
there's something that like not to speak on behalf of players, but there is something that that does just seem to hit a little differently for players, even though they understand the business of it all. Like Bruce
yeah.
wasn't bitter, but he definitely wants to play well against Detroit. Like he said that.
Yeah, yeah, he did. If it was the same GM that drafted him, that traded him, I would be like 100%. But I'll leave that little window of opportunity open because I like Bruce Brown, bro. But you're
I
right. You're
I
right.
I know I wanna believe too, man. I wanna believe too, but now, like, when you have that bitterness and then, like, you could go play with Luca. If I were him, by the way, what I would do, I would take the 7.5 million to play one more year with Jokic, bet on yourself, see if you can go win another title, and if he gets even better, he could potentially command even more money. He's supposed to get above a mid-level right now. I think he could approach 20 mil a year if he comes in and plays really well and wins another chip this year. And is a reason why. Like
Yeah,
if I'm him, I bet on myself. I do one more year with Denver. That's just me.
definitely, definitely.
It's
You
easier to
know,
stay from my position when I'm not the one that's putting my financial, family's generational wealth future on the line.
yeah. Look, bro, I felt like we covered a lot in this. So I wanted to address this on the screen. Chuck Brewer, man. Shout out to Chuck, man. I love the people that have been supporting and continue to support regularly. He said, Kool-Aid has it hit you when you're sitting in the pressers, what you are doing. I will tell you, Chuck, not really. I have not, the full magnitude has not set in yet. I've been focused on like trying to make sure I do a good job, make sure I ask the right questions, try and figure things out, try and be around the huddles where we really, really figure out kind of what their agenda and their mindsets are. And a couple times it's been kind of surreal. But the funny thing is, man, I've been around basketball for so long. I've had, friends in the NBA before. I've, played with Pro Am. Where the school that I played at, Steve Francis grew up behind that school and donated a lot, had Pro Ams there. So I was kind of comfortable around like the hoop of it all, even though it's still like, yo, these are Detroit Pistons. It was the media people, bro. I'm like, yo, that's Dan Miller right there.
Yep.
Touchdown
And I know
Detroit
cool
Lions. Like,
and and I
whoa.
and I know Kool-Aid's gonna be gracious, but my brother, you absolutely belong in that room. And,
I appreciate you, brother.
I know to some people just hearing the question in a Monty William press conference, it's just another question, but we know it's not. We know the amount of work like you and I, only you and I know the amount of like, or in your family as well, know the amount of work that went in and sacrifice that went into getting to that moment, and also how
It was
much you
dope,
hold
man.
your own in that room. Like, just absolutely shout out to yourself, Kool-Aid, because
I appreciate the chats too, man, showing love because like I said, man, we're trying to, all all of us, man, we're trying to right now. I think Doug put it there. You represent all of us, Kool-Aid. I was so proud. That's what I'm trying to do, man. It's our team, and ultimately to make sure all of our guys are one day in that room. That's what I want, because I believe that Sean deserves to be in that room. Jeff deserves to be in that room. Troy deserves to be in that room. You guys are carrying torches as well. I've said it for a long, long time, man. You and Jeff are stars,
I appreciate
and
you,
because
man.
you're dedicated. You're really, really, really dedicated, man. And so it's like, hey, shout out to Day. I got some things coming with Day. It's gonna be dope, dope, dope. But this is about representing. It is. I never thought that there would even be an opportunity for something like this. And when as a kid, these are things that we all sit around and we talk about, and we have all the banter and all the sports stuff and all this. And as I got really, really serious about basketball, I was like, man, if I could just ever do anything. So when you get an opportunity like this, you recognize what it's for. These people that's come before us, like Rod Beard, like Terry Foster, that's a serious thing, man. These guys took it serious. Terry Foster isn't just
And
in these Bad Boys documentaries just because he's there. It's because of how much he cared to make it about the people he was reporting for and representing. And that, man, I take very solemnly from my team. We're close knit, man. Started with Sean and Jeff and Jalen and Steve, and even going back to the beginning with guys like Deuce and King, Lexi and what she's done. It's everybody, man. What sports does. What's Adam, Stick, and Joey do. What shout out to Dwayne Casey, man. What a lot of different people have
yeah,
done, bro. So I'm grateful. I'm appreciative.
it's
I try to
it's
make sure I don't let y'all down, man. And I'm telling you, I appreciate that.
it's a blessing when the team that you put a lot of work into covering the best that you can, but also you spent years rooting for and supporting. Like, it means it speaks a lot when we have the people, like when we have some of the people in our corner that we've been able to get, and some of the people we've been able to meet, and when we get to hear, from people like Rod, like, like we get to hear from people that, like, our coverage matters, that, like, that, like, this community is making noise, that, like, the Pistons and people in media are seeing what we're doing. I mean, like, like, table talk is just been something that started as just a fun thing that we did on Thursdays. But my God, I could not have told you that this would turn into a thing where consistently, like, 100 people or 80 plus people are watching every week. Like, seriously, man. Like, I know it's just the start. And I know, like, 5 years from now, we're gonna want to look at that and scoff. But, like, like, in all seriousness, like, it means the world, man. Seriously, like, you guys, like, tuning in and being a part of this community, like, I could just speak personally, like, certainly makes it a lot more fun. And on top of that, like, a lot of the comments and the excitement that the community brings
Yeah.
keeps me going as well, man.
I
So,
remember our first feature when we covered the Jeremy Grant Classic to like 15 people in the live
yeah.
stream. We were just like, look, we have to do it. We are trying to promise to bring every behind the scenes look, every on the beat look that I can bring, that Sean can bring, that our whole team can bring. So it's like, man, this is what we want to do, regardless of where it started. We knew that we wanted to represent in a certain way, shape, or form. And Sean's somebody that from the beginning I told him, I was like, bro, you're a great host. I need you a part of this, man. And so everybody that's been here, everybody that's kind of wanted to be a part of this team, it's been an awesome thing. And it's been with awesome people who will take it serious. Like even Jalen, the way he showed up. I got to tell y'all
Oh,
this
man.
quick about the stream, man. Look, Jalen hit me up and was like, look, I kind of want to get to know what this is all about myself. I'm a professional. I went to school for this. I'm a journalist. I'm in the field already. I'm covering sports for D Zone for high school sports in Michigan. I'm doing photography all over as well. And I was like, look, meet me at the studios in Birmingham. We'll talk at the office. And my man showed up dressed for success. And from my communities and such, I get geeked about that every single time we show up and we properly represent, because I don't have to do anything. I don't have to make a way or a case for anybody. Jalen came and represented himself properly, and he's an asset to have on the squad, the same way that Sean and Jeff did as well, the same way that Steve did as well, among all the others. Charles, Lexi, I know I'm probably forgetting other people, but these people have all continued to be people that wanted to put in and be professional and kind of carry their own weight. And for that, it's just like, yo, let's go out there and eat. Let's go out
And
there and lunch. Let's
it's
do it.
special shout out to Steve, by the way, now that we are officially past draft season, the amount of work that guy puts in on a day-to-day basis to like the amount that
Man.
I knew about this class, a lot of my base knowledge came from Steve. And the amount of work he puts in, like, I do so
I'm
much,
glad you said that.
I put a lot of my time and a lot of my attention into the NBA as a whole, in front office specific things and league specific things. I do my best trying to know about the players now that it's overwhelming to even think about like looking at all these prospects. So the fact that we have someone like Steve, who's as smart as he is, as sharp as he is, like quite literally, like when we were like, hey, who could they potentially take with the 31st pick? He was like, oh, here's 7 different people. Here's the complete breakdown. Here's everything I view about them. Here's their shooting numbers. Got it all right here. It's like, man, that guy's a freaking draft supercomputer. He is.
That's why I'm laughing. It's like I don't know what adjective to use, man.
He's the human encyclopedia.
But it's like that's it. That's it. Like Doug said it too. Steve is a maniac. This is MTJ. Steve is working on the next draft. That speaks volumes.
Bro, I'm telling you, man. It's literally like an elf. Man. It's like that opening scene in Elf when Santa gets back to the North Pole.
One of my top 5 movies.
Yeah, dude, one of my top 5s. You kidding me? Absolutely.
Y'all gonna love Kool-Aid and the Murph. All
right, but dude, but like Santa, like he's like, great work, team. Now it's time to work on next year's Christmas. Yay! Like that's Steve when it comes to the draft, like to a T.
Yeah, listen, you guys are gonna see him. I've had some pretty big personal news. You guys will find out soon. Sean kind of already knows. You guys will find out soon, though. Soon enough. It's kind of taking my attention and split it in some ways, but we're going to have Steve still here. He's still going to be focusing on the draft and making sure that we are knowledgeable as well, so that all of our content can be infused with the best information. But we're going to still have him on here to check us. We're still going to have to keep it live, to keep it reels going live, where Steve is going to come and shoot down everything that Sean and I say.
We need a grouch somewhere, man. Steve is my favorite residential grouch. I love him so much.
Yeah. So yeah, look, he's still here. We're still gonna be doing the content. It's gonna be a lot more content coming to the stream. And honestly, Sean, we got him on producer duties, man. He's gonna be producing the Kool-Aid and the Murph. And I'm excited for the things that he's already shared with me. And we're just gonna get it rocking, bro.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun.
You can close us out. I'm done.
Man, thank you all so much for tuning in and being here for another episode of We're Pistons Table Talk. Kool-Aid, these literally fly by for me. Like, I can't believe this has been an hour and a half. Like, literally where, like, I don't know where the time went. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. If you like this video, be sure you like down below, subscribe, comment in the comment section what you want to see the Pistons do in free agency. But also, be sure that you're following We're Pistons on Twitter, as well as Kool-Aid at Detroit Kool-Aid, so you're not missing any of the latest updates and news coming from, the Detroit Pistons, what they do this weekend. The coverage is going to be right there, unless it happens on a Friday evening, but then Kool-Aid will get it first thing in the morning or whenever he can get back on it. But you can also follow myself at Sean Halfcourt. I don't take any time away, so I'm always here.
Let's rock, bro.
You could also subscribe to From Half Court, where we're getting back to more regular content over there as well. But with that, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate this community. We will catch you guys here same time next week on We're Pistons Table Talk. Be sure you're subscribed, mother.
Hey, I like that, man. I like that a lot. You like my shirt?
I do.
It's the